Hello YouTube and welcome back to the High Rise Digital channel where we talk about WordPress, web development and everything in between. My name is Mark and in this video I'm going to be looking at some plugins for WordPress that you might not know about or you might not have used. So I asked on Twitter, tell me about some plugins that you think I haven't heard of, and these are the responses of the people that were kind enough to let me know some of the things they use, like, enjoy, and I haven't used, probably. So let's have a look at those now. Before I do, if you are liking this video, please hit the like button. It really does help us out. And of course, if you haven't already subscribed yet to the channel, please do so. There should be a big red button just beneath this video. So let's get started. I will share this screen and here we go. So first plugin here. This actually has a warning message above it, and I must admit I haven't actually installed and used all these plugins. I'm literally just sharing what people shared with me. So I can't speak from experience for a lot of these. So this plugin is called The Future Is Now, and it really caught my attention when someone replied to me this, because it was actually something I was doing recently with an events system, and it kind of does exactly what I wanted. So it says a WordPress plugin aimed at event sites where you want to be able to timestamp posts in the future. So the idea here is that the event date would be the post date. Now the problem with doing that is that it never shows up in WordPress until that date, because WordPress doesn't show future posts. So it says here that this plugin sets the post status of these posts, or events in this case, to publish rather than future, and it means that they then show up in WordPress. So certainly something worth looking at. It hasn't been updated in a while. Does it still work? I'm not so sure. It does have some very good ratings and quite a few installs as well. So certainly something to look at if you're in that boat and you're looking at events. This one was one that was shared to me as well. It's called Atlas Content Modeler. And it looks like it is a way or a solution for providing an interface for creating custom post types, custom fields and taxonomies. It's built by WP Engine, so it's likely to be a good plugin, I hope. Again, it's not got many installs, but I thought it was something interesting to look at. And the screenshots look quite interesting as well, about building new content modules, different ways of doing it. So certainly something to have a look at if you're that way at looking at it. Next one is a plugin I've heard about, actually. So this one probably shouldn't get in the list because I asked for plugins that I haven't heard about. And it's called Perth Matters. And it is a really popular plugin for performance optimizations in WordPress. And I first heard about this plugin when I was reading my book, which I will get for you now, this book. This is a book, if you haven't read it by the way, you can grab a copy for free off the Kinster website. It's by the Kinster team, hosting company, and it talks about how to speed up your WordPress site. And they mention this Perth Matters plugin a lot in this particular book. And it does all sorts of things. If you have a look at the view features list, there's toggle options for like disabling emojis and embeds and XML RPC, and the jQuery migrate extra JavaScript that tries to load. You can hide the WP version, you can disable like pingbacks and things like that, and even like the heartbeat URL API, which is saving things in the background. So I think it's quite an interesting one to have a look at to try and improve the speed of your WordPress site, and I'm sure it does a lot more as well, but certainly worth looking at. It's even got a script manager involved as well. So that's Perth Matters. Someone mentioned this plugin. I think it was this one. They didn't link to the plugin, but I assume this is the one it was, and that is S3 Upload. So to my knowledge, this is not on the WordPress.org repository, but it is free, and it's from the team at Human Made, and it allows you to store your media uploads in an S3 bucket, which is like a cloud storage solution. The idea being that obviously that's slightly cheaper than it is for sort of like hosting costs and so forth. It probably is a little bit more developer-y than sort of plug and play. You can see there's some things you have to do to make it work, but it really did pique my interest and I thought that was interesting. I actually use a different plugin for this. It's a paid-for version by the team at Delicious Brains. And I think it probably does the same thing, but obviously this one's free. It's built by a really good team, so I'm sure it's awesome. Next one on the list is something else I haven't heard of, Image Attributes Pro. Someone recommended this one. It essentially produces image attributes, so that's alt text, titles and things like that, which are better for SEO and for accessibility based on the image that you upload. Now, how accurate that's going to be, I'm not so sure. It says this plugin can set the image file name as the image title. Is that any good if you've not got a good file name? I'm not so sure. But perhaps it tries to automate that stuff. Not sure whether that's the right thing to do anyway, but certainly something to worth looking at if you've got decent file names for your images. Next one. Now, again, confess, this is one I have used, but a long time ago. It's from Mark Jaquith, and it's called WP Help. It's got plenty of active installs, great developer, and what it does is allows you to add a help section inside the WordPress admin where you can essentially write help for your clients. So, articles on how to do X, Y, and Z, and you can, because they're just posts in the back end of WordPress, you can kind of use embed videos and images and pictures and really describe how to use things. As you can see, the screenshots are quite old, but I'm pretty sure it's been updated recently. There we go, 4 weeks ago. And it certainly is one that I used to use quite a lot. And it's if you want to provide some help to your clients in WordPress or in the WordPress admin, definitely have a look at that plugin. Now, here's one called Nested Pages, which was recommended. Page management in WordPress is a bugbear of a lot of people, and a bugbear of mine as well. So this looks like some sort of drag and drop content management style for any post type, which you can then drag and drop for pages in order and probably nest them as well by making them children of them and things like that. I must admit, again, I haven't used this one, and most of the ones I have used are very buggy. So I hope this one isn't. Hopefully it's recommended because it's not, and it does have 90,000 or more users, so plenty of users. It must be half decent, and it's got some good ratings as well. So yeah, Nested Pages is perhaps one to try out. Had to put this one in. I have heard of it, I use it all the time, but this was recommended a few times, and it's called Query Monitor, so obviously people out there think it's awesome as well. It's from John Blackburn, and he's got some awesome plugins out there, and if you use a lot of John's plugins, I would highly recommend that you go and support him on GitHub through like a sponsorship. We do at High Rise Digital. We use a lot of the plugins that John makes. And it's simply, this one is like a debugging type tool. It is telling you what queries, it's actually telling you all sorts of things on the page, not necessarily just queries, but it tells you what queries are running on the page, how long they took, which file requested them. Excellent tool for debugging. It puts an admin bar menu at the top. You can see here there's a little screenshot of it. And it tells you all sorts of information, what hooks and actions have been fired on that page, what HTTP calls are being made. It is awesome if you're developing. Probably not something you want to put on a live site permanently, but certainly it's something that you can use for local development. Is an absolute must. Next one, I hadn't heard of this one, and I thought this was actually very simple but very clever. So it's called WhatTheFile, and what it does is in the admin bar, you can see a little screenshot here, is it tells you which theme template WordPress is using for the view that you're looking at. So if you've landed on a page and you think, oh, is this a page or is it a post type archive? It'll tell you in the admin bar which template in your theme is actually rendering this content. So that's a really good idea, and it allows you to quickly do that. Usually I kind of use the body tag for that and have a look at the body tag to check what's being output, but sometimes poorly written themes don't use the body class, and therefore that doesn't work. So this, in that instance, would be an excellent alternative. LoginByOauth is one that was recommended to me. I'm always a little bit hesitant of plugins that allow you to log in with multiple different accounts, just because that's like lots of data in different places and just makes me think of sort of data protection and so forth. And you're obviously, if you're allowing people to sign up allowing people to sign up to your site using those services, you might have to be accepting those terms and conditions, etc. But this looks really cool. It allows people to log into WordPress with different logins for things like Twitter and Facebook and Office 365 and Google Apps and things like that. So yeah, useful perhaps, particularly perhaps in the enterprise space if you're building that sort of website. Next one is easy support videos, embedding videos into the admin. So this is similar to the WP help one really. It's allowing you to use the WordPress admin for helping your clients out essentially. It's a nice little intro video on here which shows you how it works. And something I particularly thought was interesting is that you can put specific content, so you can see it in the screen in the video screenshot there, on specific pages in WordPress. So you can say, you know, when the client lands on the add new post screen, you can put specific help information there on that page only, and you know, like a video there as well, which I thought was really interesting. So certainly again something to look into if you're wanting to help out your clients in the admin. 3 to go. So again, someone recommended Slim SEO. I have never heard of this plugin. It's amazing, isn't it, how many plugins are out there and you've never even heard of them. And often I often say, like, would it be good to try an SEO plugin that was a little bit more slimmed down than the Yoast plugin? Now, the Yoast plugin is excellent. It pretty much goes on every website we do, but it does have a lot of stuff with it. Probably a lot of that stuff you might not be using at all, certainly for sure. So therefore, is it worth an alternative at looking at a slimmed down version of this? Again, I haven't used this one. I don't exactly know what it has and hasn't got, but it's nice to see that there are some alternatives to the usual SEO plugins for WordPress. This one I had seen briefly when I was investigating, doing some search on a recent project. We didn't actually use it in the end, but I thought this was interesting. And this is a facet WP. So it allows you to search and filter down through sort of posts or products or things like that. Probably best described by showing you the demo here. So here we've got a list of cars. You can see 70 pages of cars. And the facet WP so allows me to drill down into these things. So if I tick on the Alfa Romeos here, you can see everything changes now because not all of the things that were down here before apply to Alfa Romeos. So this is really good, and it sort of filters down, and then I've got filter options up at the top here as well. So well worth a look if you're running into looking at that sort of search filtering and drilling down through pieces of content. And then last but not least that was recommended to me was this particular plugin. Again, never heard of this. Store your ACF fields, advanced custom fields, in a custom database table. Now, part of me sit here thinks, why would I want to do that? But then part of me thinks that might be useful for things like performance, because obviously advanced custom fields, if you're not using the new block editor, of course, is storing all of its data in Perth Matters, which is one table in WordPress, which could and does potentially get quite large. So this could be an option to look at if you've got sort of issues with that getting very large. Maybe it's more performant to store them in a separate table. It also talks about easier to export, things like that. So certainly worth looking at if you've got a requirement for using ACF, perhaps on larger sites. So there we go. That is a run through of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 or so plugins that people have recommended to me that I had almost never heard of before. If you have a WordPress plugin that you think I won't have heard of and it is awesome and I should be using it, I would love to hear your thoughts. Please comment below, let me know what they are. Put a link to the plugin and I can take a look at them. And again, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, I would appreciate it if you do that. But until the next video on the channel, I will see you then in the new year. Bye bye.